Hi, all, Ventrick here. Haven't really been posting anything Minecraft lately, so I figured I'd start a new series where I talk about how to build, develop, grow your own Craftbukkit server. As you probably know, I am one of the admins on Bob's Bobville server, so I do have some experience with this to bring to the table. So basically what I'm going to do is walk you through this video, the initial setup, and later on we'll get into plugins and how they work and what you should use and permissions and whatnot. First thing you need to do to start out is you need to go to bukkit.org. As you see, I'm on that website now. And this is where you're going to download your Bukkit server. You have two basic options. You have the recommended build, which is going to be older, probably a version or two behind, it's stable, but you probably don't want to go there because new players with new clients aren't going to be able to connect. So you probably want to go with the latest. In this case, it's a beta. So right now, Craftbukkit's latest is version 1.46 R03. So if you click on the link here, it's going to bring you to the post. Down at the bottom, you're going to get download Craftbukkit 1.46 R03. This basically tells you what the known issues are, what's going on with the beta build, what a beta build is. So if we just click on this and we save the file, I've created a folder on my E drive called YT Bukkit, YouTube Bukkit. This is where I'm going to build my Bukkit server. So I'm just going to say, yeah, I'm going to save this file here. So now that the file's saved, I'm just going to flip over to that folder here. We see Craftbukkit 1.46-r03.jar. Typically what I'll do, first off, rename the file. Just call it craftbukkit.jar. Next thing we want to do is we want to create the batch file that's going to launch your server. So what you're going to want to do is just right click, do new, text document. We'll call it, in this case, run.txt for now. We're going to open that up. And then in there, you're going to type in this command, basically. So it's java space dash xms. In this case, 1024m space dash xmx, 1024m space dash jar space craftbukkit.jar. Dash 0 space true. Let's just move this over here. And I'm going to explain a little bit about what this all means. So if you look over here, xmx sets the maximum memory heap size and XMS sets the minimum memory heap size. Typically with a Minecraft server, you want to keep those the same. And you want to keep it typically in gigabytes of RAM, depending on, so you can go less if you want to run less people. But the typical recommended settings is 1 gigabyte of RAM per 10 player slots on the server. So if you're only playing with a few friends, then you don't need that much RAM. I've just got a little chart here just showing you how much to put there depending on how much RAM. If you want to use 4 gigs of RAM, you put 4096 for your XMS and your XMX. That moves on to basically sizing your server for a number of players. You typically don't really need to go super high, especially if you're running the server on your own. I'm going to talk about that next. You have two options. You can either run the server on your own computer using your own bandwidth and your own data plans, basically. And if you're just running one or two or three of your friends, that's all fine and dandy. But what happens is if you start getting a lot more players, you're going to get a lot of bandwidth usage, and you need very good internet and you need a very good data plan. Otherwise, you're going to go over and you're going to get a big bill at the end of the month. So basically what I'm looking at here is for data usage, you're looking at about 150 to 200 kilobits per second per player per hour. So that works out to about kilobits per second per player. That works out to about 100 megabytes of data per player per hour. So if you're running 10 players on your server for 1 hour, you're going to use 1 gigabyte of data. Now, it all depends on your data plan. Some people may have a 60 gig or an 80 gig cap. So you could run 60 hours in a month with 10 players and you're going to be okay. But now what happens if you have 50 players? All of a sudden, you're at 300 gigabytes a month. And if your plan doesn't cover that, you're going to have some big overage charges. The other thing is the bandwidth requirements. In order for your server to run smoothly, you probably need about 0.33 megabits per second per user up and per user down. So that means a 10-player server is going to use about 3 megabits per second up and 3 megabits per second down. So depending on your internet plan, depends on how many players you can have as well. If you've got a lower end plan where you've only got, typically you're up, you don't have, you're down, you don't have to worry about, because it's normally going to be higher. In my case, my internet plan, I'm 50 megabits per second down, but I'm only 3 megabits per second up. So I could probably host a 10-player server. Some people who've got like Verizon Fios and they're 100 up, 100 down, or 50 up, 50 down, you can host a pretty beefy server. But then again, do you have a cap? How much data are you going to use in that month? So that's where hosting sites come into play. And I'm just going to show you a couple hosting sites here just so you can get an idea. So one of them is Aim to Game, and they'll host your server for you. They give you a web-based console so that you can connect in and add your plugins and whatnot. And they also give you FTP access. And as you can see, so a 0.5 gig memory server suggested for up to 8 users. So they're a little different than my numbers, but they're running server class hardware and everything. So won't go there. But so once you get up to, say, 50 users, they say 2 gigs a month. I would say you probably need more, but that's $30 a month. But if you want to run a 20-person server, say, you can do that for $15 a month. It's using their bandwidth. They've got huge bandwidth. They won't have caps on your data usage. The only place they may have caps is how much you can store on their server. So that's Aim to Game's pricing. And then another one is Multi-Minecraft. The same type of deal. They're a little bit more expensive, but at the lower end, at the higher end, they start to get a little bit closer in price. But depending on how many people you want, depends on how much you pay. And there's plenty of hosts out there. These aren't the only two. These are two that I know of. You can Google search and you can try to find out ones that may be better suited for you, maybe closer to you, may have more features that you like if you decide to go that route. So basically what we're going to do now is I've downloaded that Craftbukkit and I created this run.txt as I showed you. Oh, what happened to it here? I didn't save it. Did I have it open somewhere else? Oh, yeah, I still have it open here. So we've got that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to save this, close it down, and I'm going to change this run.txt to run.bat. Hit enter. It says maybe come unstable. If you want to change it, I'm going to say yes. So right now I've got my craftbukkit.jar and I've got my run.bat. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to launch this server. So I'm going to click my run.bat. You're going to see it's just generating the server. It's creating the spawn area, preparing the region. It's basically going through what it takes to start the server for the first time, creating all the files. As you can see here, when you ran that, it's created your plugins folder, your world neither, your world the end, and some other files, your permissions, your server properties. We'll go through those in the next video, but I just wanted to show you now. So this server's here. Right now it's vanilla. There's not much to it. If I launch Minecraft, run it, let's log in here. Not going to update now. I'm on 1.4.6 here, but 1.4.7 client will work with 1.4.6. We'll go into multiplayer. I already have a server created for local, so that's going to be this one. If you want to add your server, you basically add server, give it a name, and if it's on your local box, you use 127.0.0.1. That's basically the local loopback IP address. So it basically says, look for the server on the box you're on. If you want to run the server, if you want to connect to it from another machine, we have to get into firewall rules and whatnot, and the IP and the port. So we're just going to click on this and join server. And here we go. This is the fresh vanilla server that I just created. I'm going to disconnect from this now. Quit game. And what you'll see over here now Server's still up and running. You can see that Wiztrick logged in and Wiztrick disconnected. When you want to shut your server down, just come over into the console. Don't hit X. Typically what I'll do first is do a save dash all. That'll force saving everything that's in memory back to disk, so you don't risk losing anything when you shut the server down if it hasn't done its own automatic save. And then you just type stop, enter, and it'll safely shut the server down. You can close this, and the server is down now. So now if we look here at our world players, you can see that there was a data file created for my player. So basically that's it for today. This is just the basic setup, getting the server up and running, no plugins, no permissions, no settings yet. We'll cover those in the next video. Hope you got some information you can use here, and I'll catch up with you later. All right, have a good one.